I don't really have a witty opening line for this Q&A, so sorry it's late, will have to suffice. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check here with the May edition of Ask the Phoenix. Late as it is, sorry about that. For those of you watching for the first time, this is Ask the Phoenix. This is my now bi-monthly Q&A series. Love this, love getting a chance to talk to you guys. As I say, if you're watching for the first time, if you want your questions in the, it won't be June, it'll be July, Ask the Phoenix, toss them down in the comment section below. As I've said before, if you follow me on Twitter, if you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, etc., 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 you want to throw me questions there, I won't say no. I will say the comment section down below is where I get the questions from. So if you want to make sure it doesn't fall through the cracks, fall by the wayside, do please put it in the comment section below. Thanks to the multiple groups on Facebook that support, especially this series, getting it out there, people contributing, etc. It is, and I say it every time, it is one of the favorite things I do on this channel. This along with Tackle with Kristen and Guapo. Say it every time. If I couldn't do anything else, I'd probably do Tackle and this. So I don't really have anything else. I don't really have any banter, or I don't really have any like preliminary hoopla, as OKFabe would say. I will say, for anybody in the Toronto area going to the Raw and SmackDown shows in the first week of August after the long weekend, I will be going to both of those shows. So if by any chance you guys are in the Toronto area, you're going to those shows, you want to say hi to me, come on out and do it. It's a long way away, and this message will be forgotten by then. But I'm just tossing it out there because I just got the tickets today. Ticketmaster gave me a 2-for-1 deal. It was fucking great. Anyways, let's start the Q&A. Cheney815 says, you know your brand is shit when NXT pairs their takeover with your pay-per-view. I don't think so, honestly, because I think Backlash was okay. It wasn't the greatest thing in the world. Jinder Mahal's a little controversial. My boys Breezango were looking good. The women fell by the wayside on that pay-per-view for sure. I would like to say, in my own biased way, that I think NXT looked at whatever Raw has on its pay-per-view schedule and said, fuck being paired with that shit. To be real, but that really wasn't a question. That was just your opening statement. Which pre-NXT established wrestler, aside from Drew McIntyre, do you think would thrive in NXT? I gotta say, if his neck wasn't fucked up by Samoa Joe, my gut reaction to this is Tyson Kidd. Great guy, great wrestler, great in-ring talent. They had him swimming right around the NXT title scene, and you could definitely see a Tyson Kidd versus a Finn Balor, or a Tyson Kidd versus a Sami Zayn, or a Tyson Kidd versus a Bobby Roode. I don't know that there's very many others, because Jinder Mahal was there, and we see where he is now, and he had a great match with Seth Rollins when they first established the NXT Championship, etc. I don't know. I don't think back very often on the people that were in NXT after being in WWE. I don't think it was a very commonly occurring thing with people that were worth noting, if that makes sense. My answer is Tyson Kidd, as I ramble through the first question. Top 3 takeovers. I think I have an idea what your number 1 pick is. Yes, I'm going to pick NXT Toronto, NXT TakeOver Toronto as my number 1 pick because I was there, but also the best match of the NXT year happened at that show with the Gargano and Ciampa versus the Revival. I will say, this past weekend, Chicago, and I will say the first TakeOver Brooklyn. This is off the top of my head, those 3. Obviously, yes, the shows that I'm at, it's a completely different experience. It makes you incredibly biased. So yes, if I was at one of them, it's going to be the number 1 thing. Do you think NXT should have more involvement in major WWE matches? 1 spot at the Money in the Bank, 2 spots in the King of the Ring, 5 spots in the Rumble, etc. I don't think anybody from NXT that participates in a WWE event should be there representing NXT, if that makes sense. It does represent NXT. It does bring awareness to the brand, etc. When NXT first started taking off, they would occasionally have an NXT match on Raw, and I think that's good. But what I think it does at the same time is it takes away from the first actual time that talent is on Raw or SmackDown as part of the roster. So if they had a Money in the Bank like they do, like they're doing on SmackDown, they've got their 6 competitors announced, and all of a sudden they announce the 7th competitor is Drew McIntyre or something like that, and that's not only him being in the Money in the Bank, that's how they announce that he's on the main roster. Similarly with Ty Dillinger debuting on the main roster by entering the Royal Rumble. 2 spots in King of the Ring? I don't think so. 5 spots in the Rumble? 5 spots in the Rumble is rough, because you want it to... The Rumble is all about surprises, and you want to be surprised. Oh, hey, I know that guy from NXT. Oh, hey, I know that guy from TNA when TNA was relevant, etc. I don't think you want to set it in stone that all these matches have to have NXT involvement in them. I think if you do, it should be a surprise, it should be a one-off, it should be the way that that person's debuting on the main roster. But I don't think, you know... To your examples here, and your examples are great, don't get me wrong. 1 spot in the Money in the Bank. Have it be special. Hey, this is the first time ever we've had somebody from NXT, and, you know, have them win and say, fuck NXT, I've got this Money in the Bank, I'm going to stay on SmackDown now. Something like that. It should be a story about the person, not NXT, because if it's happening on a SmackDown show, the SmackDown show's about SmackDown. The Raw shows are about Raw, the NXT shows are about NXT. Which is the only bad thing I could say about earlier in the year when Seth Rollins ransacked the NXT TakeOver trying to find Triple H. It was a cool moment, and it's very outside the box, very I'm going to find Triple H no matter what. But it did take away, you got this WWE guy coming in and kind of taking away from the show for that couple of minutes. I just my opinion, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but yeah, I think it should be what it is. How would you book an NXT guy winning said matches? If King of the Ring, for example, you would have to have somebody that has shown absolute dominance in NXT to be believable, or it just comes off like, oh, it's the guy from NXT, let's just give him a bit of a rub. Bobby Roode is pretty much the only one I would want to see in sort of a King of the Ring style match or a Money in the Bank style match. But again, how do you put him in? If you put him in and the idea is he's representing NXT, and he loses. If you're using him to represent the whole brand, then the whole brand loses. And if you put an NXT guy on a SmackDown event and he beats all the SmackDown guys, then SmackDown loses. It's no win, really. It sounds great on paper, and if they did it once in a blue moon, it wouldn't hurt my feelings, but not as a standard. Nope. Between Bray Wyatt and Finn Balor, who would you consider as WWE's next Undertaker? Well, there isn't going to be a next Undertaker. There just isn't. I will say Bray Wyatt over Finn Balor, because Finn Balor is a great visual. He's a great wrestler. Don't get me wrong. He's a great physical presentation. He's a great visual entrance type thing. But I don't think they've allowed. Not saying that he can't. I don't think they've allowed him to captivate the audience. Hold that. Not necessarily that he has to talk a lot, but watch Bray Wyatt in a promo. The crowd is right here. The crowd is right in the palm of his hand. The crowd, even though WWE has dicked around his booking, the crowd ultimately is still on the edge of their seat for what he has to say, because it's so unique, it's so different, and he does literally, they play it up in his character, but I think in real life he has that sort of cult-ish following. Finn Balor is a very cool wrestler. Finn Balor's got the 2 different personalities, like the demon Finn Balor and what I refer to as the rockstar douchebag Finn Balor. And like I say, can't touch the guy in the ring. He's great. When he is on the mic, he's not terrible. But there's nothing intimate between him and the crowd. At least not on a Bray Wyatt level. I would like to see him pick up another world title before Finn Balor, honestly. And that's not a dig at Finn Balor, who's great. But Bray Wyatt has that just under your skin, like actually like fucking with your mind a little bit type of element to him, which Undertaker had as well in spades. And the ability to go up and give wrestling's equivalent of a sermon or a soliloquy on the microphone before he goes in there and destroys you, that comparison has to fall on Bray Wyatt. If Vince Russo became NXT's head writer, how long before they die? I'd give them a generous 6 months or 8 months, it says there. I don't know, we'd have a whole lot of stuff on our pole matches. It's fucking Russo. He is the walking punchline. Job Team Barry, the former NXT World Champs edition. Kevin fucking Owens, Finn fucking Balor, or Shinsuke Naka fucking Mora. Barry Owens, because he's already made. Team with Finn Balor, and I'd have no problem putting over Nakamura. Do you think Fozzie's song Judas, which is a kick-ass song, by the way, had a serious foreshadowing overtone for the TakeOver Chicago, considering what happened at the end? I guess. I didn't think about that until now, honestly, but, you know, you got the whole Ciampa thing at the end there. It could have. It could have just been a case of, hey, Jericho just left the company for a while. It would be great to keep him in the mind using Fozzy. Or it could be Jericho taking advantage of his relationship with the WWE and saying, hey, I got a new song coming out. Hey, do you want to use it? It's becoming a constant that NXT takeovers have better music than the main roster pay-per-views because they're all poppy, rappy crap. And typically there's some pretty cool music used for the takeovers. It could be a lot of things. As far as foreshadowing for the main event, I don't think they thought that, but ironically, after the fact, it kind of was. Speaking of NXT Chicago, spoiler alert, why Ciampa, why? They had to do something. And here's my thing. They had a couple of different options, because they couldn't have DIY stay the way they were exactly. They couldn't have them win. They couldn't have them win the tag team titles back because there's two other teams in the division. There is no real division for them to fight right now, other than AOP, again, the Heavy Machinery, and the other team with no name that I can't even think of at the moment, and TM61, because I love them so much. So here were your options. Put them on SmackDown, keep them a tag team. Put them on Raw, keep them a tag team. Put them on Raw and put them over in 205 Live to bolster the Cruiserweight division, which would be amazing, and I'd love to see that eventually. Or keep them in NXT and turn it around. WWE pay-per-view years and years and years ago, good friends, better enemies. And it's absolutely true with these guys, because these guys had such a following. Like, Gargano has a following, obviously. Ciampa has a following, obviously. But the following that that team has is an entirely separate element. So it genuinely, like, you saw, I'm not going to go this far, but you saw YouTubers out there saying that they were close to tears when that tag team broke up. And yeah, are they exaggerating? Are they living in the moment? Obviously, yes, because wrestling shouldn't really make you cry. That's another story for another day. But that was probably the best heel turn in a while. And it's the best heel turn in a while, despite the fact that it had been rumored for a long, long time. The other obvious correlation with that is anybody that watched the CWC and saw in the very first round, they had Gargano versus Ciampa, and my humble opinion, one of the best matches of that entire tournament was Gargano versus Ciampa in the first. I know people are going to say Tozawa and Ibushi and Zack Sabre Jr. and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But, my opinion, for my money, one of the best matches was Gargano versus Ciampa. Incidentally, another one of the best matches in that tournament, it was in the next round when it was Gargano versus Perkins, who's now just TJP, because why do people need real names? Why did they do it at TakeOver? Because they had to do something. I don't know where you would put them as a tag team on Raw or SmackDown. The other option, like I say, would have been to move them up to the Cruiserweight division and have them there individually, but you wouldn't have really been able to escape right away the fact that the crowd that knows them as a tag team. You could have had them debut on Raw and turn on each other the same night and had this feud play out on Raw, but then it would have been all rawed up and shitty. So it's allowing them to stay in NXT a little bit longer, play out this feud, play up a great match like they had in the CWC, and I think it's going to be freaking great. Who would you consider to be the John Cena of NXT? Nobody right now, before he came up to the main roster, Finn Balor. Ms. Arc 10, who joined us for the pay-per-view pick'em for Chicago and for Backlash. Thanks for joining in. Maybe you'll win next time. Held off on asking this to make sure it was relevant after Backlash. Now that Kevin Owens is the United States Champion, do you think when John Cena returns they may revisit Kevin Owens versus John Cena now that Owens is the champion? I don't think so. Cena is sort of in and out of WWE right now. He put over Owens in a way, I guess. He came back, he put over AJ Styles pretty legitimately. From what I've heard and from what I'm just picturing in my head for what SmackDown has going on right now, You go towards SummerSlam with Cena versus Nakamura, set up Nakamura, give him a big boost, you have Nakamura Styles at WrestleMania. That's what you do with Cena. I don't know what you do with Kevin Owens, if I'm completely honest. I really don't. It's an interesting case because I don't really know who I want to see him face. Right, him versus AJ Styles right now is all right, and they could play that out again for another month or so. But I'm really scared that they're going to fall back on the default of putting him back with Sami Zayn again. The rumor is that eventually he's going to be defending that title against Ty Dillinger, which would be great. It really, really would. I really hope they start doing more with Ty Dillinger. Putting him on the pre-show with Aiden English at Backlash was a bit of a smack in the face. But the only problem with that, and I said it a while ago, and I said it in the preview for Backlash, if you go from Jericho to Owens, and Owens has another brief feud with Sami Zayn, and then goes on to Ty Dillinger, that's 4 Canadians. 4 Canadians fighting over the United States Championship, and Kevin Owens is still doing his Face of America, walking out on his own face on the Titantron. It's all good. Leave him with the belt. Let him chill for a bit. The Zohan has sent me lots and lots of questions, like usual. What the hell? Both Lex Luger and Ryback failed to win the WWE. Wow, what the fuck? I'm sorry, this is what happens when I'm reading things on the fly. Both Lex Luger and Ryback failed to win the WWE Championship, despite both men having runs at the top of the card. Should either of them have won the WWE title? Which loss hurt each man's respective career more? Lex Luger versus Yokozuna at SummerSlam 93, or Ryback versus CM Punk at Hell in the Cell? Lex Luger... Ryback was never going to be a big guy. Like, he was... Nobody's going to like this comparison, but he's the Rhino of WWE when he was there. Lex Luger, at least at the time, WWE wanted Lex Luger to be the next Hulk Hogan. And with all that push behind him versus Yokozuna, the whole Lex Express gimmick, that was believable. We all knew. There's not a single person in that crowd or watching me right now or watching at home on their own televisions that thought Ryback stood a fucking snowball's chance in hell of winning at Hell in the Cell. So the fact that you never thought that he was going to win meant you weren't disappointed. So I guess it didn't hurt him. So maybe losing to Yoko was worse for Lex, because there might have been some legitimate hope, some legitimate support, some legitimate broken hearts in that scenario. But I don't. It's Ryback, man, and he's writing motivational books and selling diet supplements now. So that's what Ryback's doing. Wrestling with Reality says, to be honest, I feel like your hate for Rey Mysterio is just because of Preston, so I was wondering if you could actually explain why he sucks. Now, haven't talked about Preston and the X-Men and all those guys in a long time. I'm really hoping that shit has just gone away. If it hasn't, I haven't really been paying attention. It's actually the opposite. Like, to imply that I hate Rey Mysterio just because of Preston, where really a lot of the fights that I had with Preston were because of my opinion of Rey Mysterio. So it's a chicken versus egg thing. Why did he suck? He didn't... I don't think Rey Mysterio is a terrible human being. I don't think Rey Mysterio killed anybody, despite the trolling I did a couple years ago on that got a lot of really amusing reactions. WWE didn't know what lane to put him in WWE. They wanted an underdog. They wanted the scrappy David versus Goliath thing, which is fine once in a while, but that's basically... Okay, it's not all he did. He did have a run with the Cruiserweight Championship. He did fight with Matt Hardy and Billy Kidman and people like that. But for the most part, what do you remember of him in WWE? You remember Rey Mysterio versus The Undertaker? Fuck off. You remember Rey Mysterio versus Batista? Fuck off. You remember Rey Mysterio versus The Big Show versus The Big Show versus The Big Show versus The Big Show? Fuck off. Rey Mysterio versus Kane? Fuck off. Rey Mysterio versus The Great Khali? Fuck off. It's just no. Wrestling is fake. I get it. But there is something to be said for the suspension of disbelief. And no. No. No and no. I'm sorry, as much as the Big Show ain't the best pro wrestler in the world, Big Show could sit on Rey Mysterio. It's the same reason I laughed at everybody that said, oh, Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Yeah, if you want him to fucking die. And then towards the end of his run in WWE, you know, when he was trying to duck out on his contract and, you know, trying to say that wasn't illegal, he just started to suck. And because he started to suck at the same time that, honestly, he's getting old, he's got bad legs, da-da-da-da-da, whatever. I will give him all that. I will give him all the credit in the world for all the, you know, puts his body on the line like all the other guys do. But it's when he started botching a whole lot, when he started having shitty matches a whole lot, and the fans that followed him blindly, like Preston, would act like he was still putting on Benoit Guerrero classics. And he wasn't. And there's nothing wrong with the fact that he wasn't, but don't lie. And don't lie. And, okay, and then you send him to WrestleMania, and I'm gonna make the Daniel Bryan comparison once again. You send him to WrestleMania, you use the passing away of Eddie Guerrero to put him in a storyline with Randy Orton and Kurt Angle, who he had no business beating. Because here's my point, and this is where I compare it to the Daniel Bryan thing. Daniel Bryan went to WrestleMania, had a match with Triple H, got attacked with a sledgehammer, took on 2 more fresh guys in the main event, and won. That's bullshit. Rey Mysterio, same thing. Used the death of his friend to go on and face 2 guys that he had no problem beating. Won. Yeah, happy moment, happy storytelling bullshit, but all of you who are telling me that I'm an asshole for not liking Rey Mysterio and saying that that story is bullshit would eat your own fucking hearts. If that was John Cena, or if it was Roman Reigns, or if it was Ryback. You would, and don't lie to me and say that you wouldn't. So I hope that clears that up. I don't hate Rey Mysterio because of Preston. Preston hated me because of Rey Mysterio. Do you think your comments are biased towards the thing you like and against the things that you don't like? I'm not judging, I'm just curious. Of course. This channel exists as a platform for my bias. I don't like Naomi. I make no apologies for not liking Naomi. It doesn't make me a racist, first of all. If I don't like Naomi, and people are constantly questioning me on it, when I see a match, when I see her fall on her ass, when I see her use her crotch to the face as a finishing maneuver, when I see that one of her signature moves is a set of kicks that literally do not touch her opponent, I'm going to use that to back up a point that I'm constantly trying to make. If I see CM Punk go out there and have a great brawl one week and have a great technical match the next week and have a great high-flying match the next week and cut the pipe bomb the following week, I'm going to point those things out and say, this guy's the fucking total package. No pun intended to the Lex Luger guy that we were talking about a couple of questions ago. I'm going to do that. I'm here for my opinion. I'm not here stating fact. I've been in a ring one time at a fan event. I've never been in the ring to perform. I've never performed. I've never put up a ring. I've never been a referee. I've never taken a bump, as the wrestlers would say. I'm not here to tell you facts. I'm here to tell you my opinion, my reaction to the thing. So yes, am I slanted by my biases? No. This is a platform for my biases, so I don't think it's slanted. I think that's the exact purpose of this channel. Why does wrestling suck so bad right now? Honestly, there's too much of it. I'll dial it back a little bit. WWE sucks because it's PG. Not because we have to do everything sexual, everything profane, everything violent, everything bloody, everything gory. PG is a limitation. You limit a creative outlet, it will not be as good. That's just a fact. On the other side of the coin, wrestling fans are spoiled. We have about 8 hours, just from WWE alone, we have 8 hours of pro wrestling to absorb every week. We got 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, you got NXT, we're going to have the Mae Young Classic coming out soon, we're going to have the UK show coming out soon. That's not including pay-per-views. Nothing that you watch 8 hours of a week is going to seem as special as when you had to watch a half hour of it a week. Talk to anybody that watches a show on television and then goes back and binge watches it on Netflix. It's not as special at the beginning of the day as it is at the end of the day. And some of that, I hate to break it to you, because WWE's not doing a whole lot of super fantastic stuff right now, I will give you that, but some of that, like our need to mass consume it, is spoiling it for us as well. So we as fans that want to talk shit about the WWE and what they're doing, with valid points, we have to own some of that ourselves as well. That's just a fact. With Roman Reigns obviously being the most hated guy in WWE right now, what do you think we should do in the future around him? And it's kind of proven that it could work considering Braun Strowman is getting over because of Roman Reigns. Yeah, use Roman Reigns like you used John Cena. When they were really trying to galvanize CM Punk, they put him up against John Cena because he would, as a bad guy, get cheered. As a bad guy, he would be lauded and applauded by the crowd. You need a babyface that nobody likes to build better heels, because anybody you put against Roman Reigns is going to get cheered right now. When you had CM Punk versus John Cena, anybody you put up against John Cena would have been cheered. Now, combine that with the fact that CM Punk was friggin' amazing, in my opinion, and you had a winning combination. But you have to... Don't... Stop trying to push Roman Reigns as what you want him to be. Recognize what the crowd sees him as, and if you can do something with that, do it. Don't mold Roman Reigns off of what you think we as fans should be doing. What WWE Studios movies would you hate to be in? Ugh. I mean, none of them are that great. I have most of the Marines just because I think they're hilariously lame. A lot of the kids movies that Triple H did, I think I wouldn't look myself in the mirror if I was involved in any of those. Do you think we need more characters in WWE? You need more people with character, and it goes back to the PG thing. It goes back to WWE tightening the reins a whole lot. Goldberg being in WWE was a fail for the most part, but you could tell that he either wasn't scripted or he wasn't heavily scripted, because he went out there, fumbled all over his words a lot because he was just talking honestly to the crowd. You need to have more... Stone Cold Steve Austin said every good character in wrestling is that person playing the character, its own personality turned up to 10. You can't... It's very hard these days to have, this is so-and-so and he's playing... Like, you couldn't create, unfortunately, you couldn't create The Undertaker in 2017. Because what Undertaker was when he first debuted would probably be laughed at today if he wasn't The Undertaker. You need to create real people with character, if that makes sense. Anyways, Wrestling with Reality, that was that, and I muddled through those kind of awkwardly. Sorry about that. The Preston thing just made me laugh because it's so, no offense to you, but it's so backwards to what's actually friggin' true. Going down. We are at Snake Bit Goat, who says, and this is, I did see this ahead of time, and I wanted to kind of comment on this for a second, so, not going to be as funny for a second here, but, hey Spaz, I'm sorry I haven't been submitting questions recently or commenting on many videos. Life got in the way. My dad died around Christmas time, and my grandmother died around February, so I haven't had any questions until now. So first of all, there's a lot of people you might have to apologize to in the world, regardless. Friends, family, work, associates, etc. The last person you have to apologize is me, because you haven't gotten around to watching my videos. That's just not a thing. Second of all, that sucks, man. That's a really, really shitty 1-2 punch that you've been through at the beginning of this year. Genuinely, condolences for that, man, on losing your dad. I can't imagine losing your grandmother right after. I had about a year span where I lost my grandmother, then I lost an uncle. So I can understand a little bit what it's like to have a 1-2 punch like that. There's nothing I can say as a guy sitting here on YouTube that's not going to make that suck a whole lot of balls. So, sorry to hear that. Really, really sending a lot of, as many condolences as I can through this camera to you. This channel's going to be here if you ever want to watch me just doing this shit, and hopefully I can cheer you up somewhere in the process. I'm sure somebody, 1 or 2 people in the comment section will you know, toss their condolences in as well. I mean, for the most part, the people that comment on my videos are pretty decent, so I'm pretty sure we can all think back and that just sucks, man, and we're all sorry. That's terrible. And like I say, the last thing you have to do is apologize to me because you haven't gotten around to watching my videos. That's, I'm pretty sure, pretty low on your list right now, so no worries. And plus, you say you haven't had any questions until now, so why would you? Why would you leave me any questions if you didn't have any? That's totally cool. Glad to have you back. Hope you come back in 2 months. It'll be all good. Who ruins things worse, Sheamus, Rey Mysterio, or Naomi? And the answer is Naomi. Honestly, because she's terrible at pretty much everything. Sheamus is good if you put him in the right scenario. When he had the on-again, off-again feud with Wade Barrett, it was great because Wade Barrett was doing sort of like that street fighter, like the prize fighter kind of fighting on the docks gimmick, and you put Sheamus in a brawling situation, or you put him in a big, like a no-holds-barred, like throw him in a no-holds-barred match with the Big Show or somebody huge like that he can just knock around and trade punches with, etc. He's got a place. Rey Mysterio, as much as I just ranted on how WWE treated him, look at him in WCW. He was one of the figureheads of the Cruiserweight division. He could go out there, he could do the flippy shit and all this stuff that we all loved. He knew his spot in WCW. And he was good in his spot. What is Naomi's spot? Other than dancing badly and giving people seizures and kicking people with kicks that don't touch. I don't get it. There's nothing to the table. I could look at Sheamus and see him in a technical match with Daniel Bryan in 18 seconds. Another story for another time. But you try to put him in a proper technical match with Daniel Bryan, he's probably not going to hold up his end of the bargain. You get him in a high-flying match with one of the guys from the CWC, for example, he's probably not going to hold up his end of the bargain. Put him in there with a brawler. Throw him in there with Mark Henry. Throw him in there with somebody like a Killian Dane or a Samoa Joe. You're going to get a good brawl match out of Sheamus. Same thing with Rey Mysterio. You put him in, if Rey Mysterio in his prime, not now when he's got two fucked up legs and doesn't want to work for WWE even when he's legally obliged to, get him back in the day. Get him back in the day when he was in the Cruiserweight division in WCW. Put him in the CWC now. Put him in the X division in TNA back when that was an actual proper thing. Put him in his spot. It'll work. What the fuck is Naomi's spot? Other than we had to give her the title because of what particular month it was. Let's be real for a second. The answer is Naomi. Which King costume in the King of the Ring was the best? I always laughed at Sheamus's because he had the red hair spiked all the way up and then he had the red crown. But I mean, you go back to classic, I always think of somebody like a King Mabel. Because he had the whole, like, the regal purple jumpsuit gimmick and the crown, and, you know, he had Mo with him, and he had people carrying his big ass to the ring, and they really got into the gimmick, so, I don't know. And then you totally flip the script with somebody like Edge, who didn't even get a crown or a scepter or anything. He had the big ass fucking Stanley Cup looking trophy. Him being from Canada, that made me smile as well. Do you think people hate the PG era are more fueled by nostalgia, or they just want something different? People who hate the PG era, it's like I said earlier, PG is not a bad thing on its own. PG is a limitation. WWE is a creative outlet. Anytime you put a limit on a creative outlet, it's going to be bad. Because, okay, you can't swear, you can't curse, you can't fuck, you can't bust somebody's head open. Here's this list of things that you can't do. So the creative writers are thinking now, okay, here's an already existing list of things I can't do. Man, I wonder if I can do this. Man, I wonder if it's even worth suggesting this. Man, I can't write that. It'll probably get added to the list, and not even the list of Jericho. Once you start limiting things, once you start limiting offensive material, this is the problem with the PG rating. Once you start limiting offensive material, you open yourself up to everybody's opinion, because everybody has a different opinion of what's offensive. Everybody. The fact that Naomi has a job, to me, is offensive. But you go through everybody on the planet. Everybody has a different opinion of what's offensive. If you have to include all of them in a list in order to fit that PG rating, soon your show isn't doing anything. When they did the G-rated show, the Saturday Morning Slam that was specifically geared for the kids, they had to choreograph matches that didn't have punches in them. That is the slippery slope that PG puts you on, and that's why it sucks. Attitude Era, you also had probably the most iconic group of wrestlers come out of that era too. You had the Shawn Michaelses and the Steve Austins and the Undertakers and the Kanes and everything that came along. But there's a lot of shit in the Attitude Era. That's what nobody remembers. That's what nobody realizes. Go back and watch Raw. The top of the heap was the top of the fucking heap. Like the best of the best of anything we can all think of. But go back, there's a lot of shit. There is a lot of crap. People look back on the Attitude Era like we do on most things that we like with the rose-colored glasses. We pick out the things that we like the Austin McMahon feud, for example. Everything in the Attitude Era must have been as good as the Austin McMahon feud. Let me tell you, it wasn't. I'm just putting that out there. So no, we don't have to go back to busting each other's heads open. We don't have to go back to Edge and Lita and the live sex celebration. We don't have to go back to Austin out there flipping the bird and telling everybody to fuck off and whatever, but we do need to drastically pull back on the restrictions put on the creative team, the restrictions put on the talent themselves. Because we all bash the wrestlers so much for not having any character and being bland and being drab and whatever. But on the other side of the coin, if you think about what they're probably dealing with, what the writers are probably giving them, how can you blame them? Because they every step they take, walking on eggshells, stepping on a mousetrap, whatever cliche you want to come up with, they have an impossible job. Not just doing the performing, doing the wrestling, etc., but doing it under such, you know, Vince McMahon scrutiny, Big Brother's watching, and like I say, any cliche you want to go, and anything that everybody's ever said about this. Every conversation that happens about PG, everything that happens about, you know, the current PG era, everybody always says the same shit, but what they don't realize is it's not just like, oh, the wrestlers suck now, they weren't as good as they are back then. If the wrestlers from back then had to go into today's constraints, Stone Cold Steve Austin said if he were to work in WWE now, he wouldn't bother cutting a promo. Like, that tells you what you need to know. Did you ever do a school project about the WWE or anything like that? I didn't do a school project on WWE. I did have a grade 11 English teacher that paid a lot of attention to the people that actually spoke up in class, and there was basically three. The Brampton Battalion hockey team had just moved in, and our school hosted the Brampton Battalion. Jason Spezza was in my English class, and he was one of the guys that would speak up. I would speak up, and there was another girl in the class, I think her name was Rani or Rainey or something like that, and she was like a grunge musician type thing. And we had a teacher there, name was Mr. Owens, and because we were the only ones that talked, and we were doing all the Shakespeare, the Macbeth, and the Hamlet and all that shit, everything we studied would get compared to music, hockey, and wrestling, and it was the fucking greatest thing in the world. I actually passed that class, believe it or not. What are your thoughts on the band Strapping Young Lad? I don't have any, because I've never heard of the band. I'm sorry. Thank you for those questions. As I said, man, like, I can't say it any more than I already have. Condolences for you and the loss that you and your family have suffered. That's in 2 months, that's unimaginable. So my heart goes out to you. Glad to see you back in my comment section. Hope to see you in 2 months. And that goes for the rest of you as well. Like I said, if you're watching this for the first time, throw your comments down in the box below. You've got 2 months to do it. So I really hope you do. As I said, this is probably one of the favorite things I do on this channel. I love it. This series does not exist without you guys. So thank you to all of you. This series is for you. Anyways, this has been Ask the Phoenix for May. I am Spaz Phoenix, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I'll talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I'm tagging out. Bye, guys.